Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Today is Friday, November 15th, and this is Flosstube number 127. It's been almost a month since my last video, and so I have a lot to show today. Quite a bit of it is going to be Halloween stitching because that was the holiday that occurred since my last video, but I have some non-Halloween stuff too, so just if you are over Halloween, if you've moved on to Christmas and the holidays, there's not going to be too much. There's not going to be too much. So, okay, first thing, I'm going to start with some finishes. So I did a really quick, I think this was like literally took me, I wouldn't even say it was one day of stitching. It was like a couple of hours of stitching. This was a piece from the Merry Halloween book from Stacy Nash. So Stacy Nash has a few booklets that have some nice small patterns in them. And this one is like a Halloween theme. And the pattern I did was called it's called Old Black Boot Pen Keep. So here's a picture of how that looks. I used my own fabric that I dyed myself, and the floss is, I can't remember, it was a random floss from Stash. I don't even remember what brand it was, but it calls for, I think it was like DMC 830 something, like the olive green tone. So I used a little bit of a brighter kind of slime green. And so I stitched this up really quick, and then I did use the template that is included in the book for the boot shape, and I sewed it together into a little boot. So that's Old Black Boot Pen Keep, and that is from, again, it's called Merry Halloween by Stacy Nash. I don't know if these booklets are available. I don't know, honestly. It was several years back that I bought that, so. Okay, so then I wanted to do some more Halloween stitching, and I felt like a kind of impromptu start. So I was looking through my stash, trying to decide what I wanted to work on. And I was looking at this book from Blackbird Designs. This is the Tricks or Treat. This was recently reprinted a year or two ago. So this is the newer, like I bought the reprint. This was really, really hard to find for a long time, but now I don't think it's hard to find at all. So the one I did is called Light Your Way, and it looks like this. But I did mine on a really bright orange fabric because it just calls for like one black floss, and I thought that would look really good on this fabric. I think I was looking for fabric for something else, came across this fabric in my stash, and thought I need to find something. And then when I saw this pattern, I knew it was going to be perfect. This is a Bestitch Me fabric. It's a 32 count linen. I don't know what the name of the fabric was, but it might have been limited edition. I believe it came in a Halloween box a year or two ago. Brandy does sometimes make those fabrics part of the permanent line, but I don't know for sure on this one if that was the case. And the floss I used, I think I just used 310. I think this is just DMC 310. So that was actually really fun to stitch. A little different for Blackbird. I really like this book. I think I would stitch like everything in this book. The main piece in the book is this one. I think it's really cute. There's a lot of smalls in the book, just little ornaments. Like these guys right here. I would stitch everything in this book. I think it's a really good book. So that was called Light Your Way by Blackbird Designs. Then I got back out my Bent Creek kit. So I had to start on this, and I thought, I just need to get this finished. 'Tis the season. So this is, it's the title of this is weird. It's called Pumpkin of Leaves. So this was a kit I found at my thrift store locally, and it was brand new, unopened. I think they bought it from the Fat Quarter Shop, according to the sticker on the kit. So whoever bought that, never stitched it, and then donated it, thank you. There were two. I got the Candy Corn of Mischief, which I showed probably last video, and then this one, Pumpkin of Leaves. So the kit came with this, I don't remember what count it is. It might be like a 10 count fabric. And then it comes with all the pearl cotton. So that's just DMC pearl cotton. So these can be stitched with regular DMC on your linen of choice. But because I had the kit with the pearl cotton and the higher count fabric, I just went ahead and did it per the kit. And I think it looks really cool. I think I'm just going to make it into a cute little pillow. Maybe I'll do that soon so I can display this up through the end of the month. Then around Thanksgiving, or well, right after Thanksgiving, I'll switch out to like Christmas decor. So I need to get that one out soon, or it'll be out next year. Okay, and my last finish. So there was a release maybe a week or two ago. And it was a collective. I think it's the Stitchers Collective. It's organized by Bad Stitched. It might be Bad Stitched. Anyway, a bunch of designers. I want to say it was like 20 something designers, all collaborated and made a bookmark for this collection. And then, you could donate to charity, email proof of your donation, and then you would get the bundle of patterns. And they run the gamut. There are some fabulous patterns in this collection. So like the second I saw it, bought it immediately. I've only stitched the one so far, but there were probably about half of them that I want to stitch. Some were, they're all good. Some of them I'm like, I'll never stitch that, but there were like more than enough in the collection for me to grab that set as soon as I could. So the first one I stitched was from Nuri at Shaded Stitchery, and it's called Passages. So I stitched this with the called for DMC floss, and it calls for 2 DMC variations, and the rest are regular DMC. I did do the called for floss. This is 14 count perforated paper, and hers is done on a really pretty deep blue. So I actually just had this like brown perforated paper, so I tried to spray it, but I didn't get the color quite like hers, but I think it works. So it's basically just a navy, but I still think it looks really good. So this was a quick stitch, and it was really fun to stitch. I need to cut it out and back it so that it is actually a functional bookmark. There are just some really good patterns. So I do encourage you to go look at that collection and grab it if you are interested. I think it's a limited time thing. I want to say I saw a date in there, in someone's post, and I think it was like, or no, when I went to download it, I think it said this will be on the Google Drive link. The link will be available until, and it was like the end of the month. So I think it's a limited time thing. So if you want that, you need to run and grab that as soon as possible. Okay, so those were all my finishes. So what else did I stitch on? Well, I had several new starts. This, this project bag, my sister got me this project bag. Isn't it cute? It's handmade by Stitchy Missy. I think she got it at Cecilia's Samplers in Branson, Missouri, when she was visiting a month or two ago. So she got that for me and sent it to me. So I started Chloe's House by You and I and Friends. It looks like this. This is an old pattern. So the impetus for starting this was in a group chat. One of my friends was de-stashing and kind of showing the chat, like, do any of you want these charts? And I think she had some You and I and Friends charts. And I was like, oh, I already have that one, or, you know, whatever. And we got to talking, and all of a sudden I was like, you know, I have one. It's not very big. I think it'd be really quick to stitch. And I just like impulsively decided I was going to start it. So this is actually is a small chart. It's like 115 by 115. That big old house makes it look like a much bigger chart than it is. But anyway, I decided, I think just with it was October, just the season, I decided I wanted to change the color of the house. And then I thought, well, I'm going to make it kind of like dark and gloomy. So I changed all the colors in this. I'm going to show you one more time just so you know how it's supposed to look, because mine does not look anything like it. I have changed every single color on this chart. So, like I said, it's a small chart. It's 115 by 115, but I'm also stitching this on 46 count. So mine is extra small. So here's like the bottom of the house. And then there's going to be this grass down here. So this is like about how big my finished piece will be. This is a 46 count fabric from Barbarol Creations. I bought it years and years ago off Etsy. I have no idea if she's still dying or what. I think the fabric was called Dijon, 46 count. And like I said, I've color converted everything. I just grabbed all the like flosses that were singing to me as like a fall feeling floss from my stash. So these are mostly like limited edition gentle arts that I've gotten in boxes. Like those, the limited edition gentle arts often don't even have a name. There are some color and cottons, just all sorts of random stuff. I couldn't even give you the conversion because it's mostly just limited edition stuff, but I am absolutely obsessed with how this is turning out. I love it. I love my gloomy house. I know I still have a lot of fill-in to do, but I love it. I love how all the colors are working together. I was having a lot of fun with that, and I really couldn't put it down for a while. But unfortunately, because it's 46 count, this is not going to be a good travel project or a good like retreat fill-in project. I mean, it's a great project in that there's a lot of fill-in, but it's not the 46 count. I can see it. It's just not, for me, that's not something I want to try to do in the car or in like bad lighting somewhere. Again, I can see it, but it's just too fine to make that attempt. All right, so then I was randomly just really wanted to work on a Carolyn Manning, and I have one that was appropriate for this season. So this is Mabon by Carolyn Manning. And last time I worked on this, which wasn't that long ago, I think I was at, I had about 30% done on the chart. So when I got it out this time, I worked on it until I hit the 50% mark. So it's not like a perfect split because I've stitched beyond the 50% or the halfway line. But overall, what I have done is about 50%, but you can really see the design coming together. So I'm using the Called For DMC, and this is a 14 count perforated paper from Mill Hill. And I love this. I absolutely love this. It's one of her smaller designs. She has some that are really large. Like this one I think is 100, it's 100 and something, maybe 108, something like that squared. She has some that are like 215 stitches squared. So she has some really big, beautiful designs, but this is one of the smaller ones and I just love it. I love it. I don't think I would do perforated paper again for these just because the paper is a little bit delicate, especially as you use it, it kind of softens up. And so I have to be really careful not to tear it. I did one on plastic canvas and that worked so great. That was fabulous. But so I thought the perforated paper would be a really good move. But unfortunately, I just think it's a little too delicate for this. I'm going to make it work. It's fine. But I don't think I would do that again. Plastic canvas or fabric, I think, is your best bet. The paper just is not holding up. You can probably kind of tell my paper is getting beat up. Very beat up. But I love that design. I have said it before, but I was really surprised like how much I enjoyed working on the Carolyn Manning designs like that, which most of them, she has very different designs, different styles, but she has a ton of these types of designs. And I thought I would get bored with them, but I really don't. I find it very like meditative and soothing, and I really enjoy stitching those, like really enjoy. Okay, so then I had a new start. So my friend Heather, Link is my homeboy. I think she showed me this and said she was thinking of she needed to restart it, I think is what she said. And I was like, oh, I have that in stash. I've always like wanted to stitch that. Maybe I'll get mine out. So she restarted hers. I think she just wasn't happy with her fabric choice. So she restarted hers and I started mine for the first time. So this is The Mysterious Halloween Town by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And I've had this in stash forever. So I went to try to find fabric for it. And what I ended up grabbing from my stash was a 40 count. So this is a fabric from Forbidden Fiber Company. Let me see if I have the name of it. I don't know where I put the fabric tag. It's from Forbidden Fiber Company, and it's just a really extremely pale like lilac. So on 40 count, this is going to be so small because I think this is about the halfway point, and this is as tall as the design is. So I'm almost halfway done, but not quite. I'm using a mix of the called for colors, and then I substituted a few things. So I just didn't have a few of the colors, so I substituted something similar. And then I wasn't happy with how the white was showing up on this fabric. So like for the cloud, I couldn't find a white that would really show up, so I just changed mine to like a gray cloud. And then my green, I used a overdyed from Stash instead of the DMC. And then unfortunately, this kind of what looks to be like a teal color on here, when I actually pulled the DMC, it was not that color. So I don't know if like my printer messed this up or something happened, but I actually wanted mine to look like the cover photo, and the DMC that's called for did not look like that. So I did grab an overdyed from Stash to have that same look. Like an old limited edition floss I had floating around. So that was really fun to stitch on. And it's really, really cute. And like I said, it's going to be so small because I'm doing it on 40 count. Usually something like this I would do on like a 32 count, but I just didn't have the right color. So mine's going to be itty bitty. What else do we have? Oh, I got back out my Mirabilia Blackbird. So I had started this and shown this in my last video. I love this design so much. And I was like, you know what? I want to work on it some more. I'm not done. I'm not ready to put her away. So I got her back out and I really stitched on her a ton. But it's not going to look like a whole lot in comparison because this dress is outrageous. It is massive. I love it, but it is massive. This entire chart is 272 stitches wide, which is really big for a Mirabilia, 247 high, 272 wide. So that, and it's all that dress. It is huge. It is gorgeous and it's fun to stitch, but I stitched so much on this and then was like, look how much I got done. And then I looked at how much was left of that dress and I was like, oh, it's never going to end. This is a 32 count I dyed myself. And I'm using all the called for DMC and Karen water lilies. It calls for 3. And it's just, I'm absolutely in love with it. I loved stitching on this. So you can see on this dress, I'm just right here in this middle area. I started in the center, and that's where I'm at. So you can see there is just so much dress left. So I have reached this side. I've reached I've reached the left side of the dress, and I have reached the right side of the dress. But then the dress, so I'm up here, but then the dress flares out. So there is still so much dress left, but it is so beautiful and so fun to stitch. So that is Blackbird by Mirabilia. I think I said last video, this is, Nora was inspired by Kathy from Wuthering Heights. She was picturing her out wandering the moors. And I think she said, I think it was at the Met, she had seen like a textile special exhibit and saw all these beautiful tapestries. And she was so inspired by the gorgeous woven textiles. She pictured Kathy out on the moors with like wrapped in a tapestry, or like an upcycled tapestry that she had made into a dress. I don't know. It was cool. I think it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love stitching on Mirabilia as always. So for me, that is so fun to stitch on. All right, I had a new start. Another one. I had several. Cottage Garden Samplings Hobbit House. I loved it. Like this, bought it the second it came out. I love this one. I mean, how could I not? So this is, this calls for all DMCs and 1 Classic Colorworks. I did have the Classic Colorworks it called for. I pulled mine. It didn't, the die lot was way different. It's in this tree here. Mine did not look like that. I wasn't happy with that. So I did sub out for, I don't remember what I'm using. Oh, I think I'm using a Forbidden Fiber Company floss for that color. But this is how mine is looking. This is a 32 count Lugana from Be Stitch Me. I think it's, I'm really not sure. I think it's called Tombstone, but don't quote me on that. And I did change up a few colors. Like I think in the, most of it's called for, but my greens, I did, it calls for 2 DMC colors. One, I haven't even stitched with one yet, but it calls for 2 DMC colors, and I thought, why not have a little fun with that? So I pulled over-dyed floss from my stash, like in a similar tone. And then I did change my pigs. It calls for, I think it's DMC 819, which just was a little bit light for me. So I just got an over-dyed floss from stash. So I am mostly just doing outline, because then there is, if you do this pattern right, it can be a lot of fill-in. So I was kind of getting like outlining done so that I could then have relaxing fill-in at another time. So yeah, there is the Hobbit House by Cottage Garden Samplings. I love it. I love it. Okay, what else did I work on? Ooh, okay, so I am participating in 3 Ink Circles round robins. So I have one I still have to start and send off to my group. We've all been very, I think, lackadaisical about getting our stuff done. So it's going to be a very low key, chill round robin. But I'm also in one that I need to stitch the final portion and finish it and send it off, and then that round robin will be complete. I've gotten mine back, and I still need to stitch on the last of the rotation. I did not get to that yet, so that is coming up soon. I need to do that ASAP. I want to get that done. But I did grab, from another round robin, I actually had 2 of my partners. It's the same round robin, but I had 2 in my possession. So I wanted to get those done so I could get those sent back. So this is Karen. This is Karen's project. This is Reflections of Amsterdam that she picked. So she sent the fabric and the floss. I don't know what they are. I think this is one of their own fabrics. I think it's a 40 count. I think this is a fox and rabbit fabric, but I don't know for sure. And I have no idea what the floss is because I don't think it's said. So this is Reflections of Amsterdam. So Karen had stitched her 4th and I stitched my 4th, and now it is half done. And I'm going to pass it on to the next person in the group. These stitch up really quick, usually for me. So I think this took a day and a half of stitching. So then I grabbed out Amy's project. So Amy chose Reflections of Ireland, which I want to do this myself. This is a black and white printout of the chart, but you'll get the idea. So this is Reflections of Ireland, and she chose the most beautiful combination for this. So she chose, her main color is a Bestitch Me silk in the color Evergreen. It's gorgeous. Bestitch Me and Evergreen. And then she chose a simple gold silk for an accent color. I love it. So Amy stitched her 4th and I stitched my 4th. Does that not look so great? So the fabric is it's a 40 count from Forbidden Fiber, and it is called Waterfall. It's beautiful. I love this. I want to do this for myself. I'll probably copy Amy and I'll pick like a beautiful green and then do a gold accent because I think that would look amazing. The only other idea I had was for the thistle, I might add a purple just for funsies. But yeah, love this. I love this one. And that also took a day and a half to stitch. So again, these can stitch up really quick. It's just that when you're stitching it yourself, repeating 4 times, I think could get a little bit tedious. So it's just nice to split it up. It's not technically a lot of stitching. It's just a lot of repetitive stitching. So it is fun to share that load with someone else. Okay, my last project to talk about. I'm going to have to edit in a picture of what this will look like. So this is Country Cottage Needleworks, Welcome to the Forest. It is a set of patterns that you could buy individually, and then a frame was provided if you wanted to stitch all of them together. So I am stitching this as a baby sampler for a new addition to the family, not me, that's coming in January. And so I am doing, I'm going to use the provided frame and do the layout, but I am cutting out the row of cottages. So I'm just going to have the top banner and then 4 animal blocks on mine. And this is on a it's like a 35 count fabric, and I dyed it myself. And here is where I am at on Welcome to the Forest. So I did change to put the baby's name in the 2nd and 3rd row. I'm using a mix of the called for colors and substitutions, but keeping the overall colors as they were intended. So yeah, I'm loving this. I just started this yesterday and I've got a lot done on this block. I feel like I could knock it out pretty quick. There is a bunch of grass down here I need to do, so I don't know that I'll finish it today, but I think it will be finishable by tomorrow. I still need to do the border to tie it all together. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think it's coming out so cute. Please ignore how crooked this is in my Q snap. Thank you. All right, so that's Welcome to the Forest. All right, that is, whew, that's my stitching. Isn't it a lot? I'm now going to move on to books. So if you don't want to stay and listen to me chatter forever about books, you can leave now. But let's talk about books. I keep forgetting, I've been meaning to say for the last 2 videos, and I keep forgetting to say, I am now in the description box putting a link to my Goodreads profile. The reason is that people ask me all the time for the link. And I finally was like, you know, why don't I just put that in the Dropbox so you can just go there. The main reason is if I talk about a book and you are interested, but like you missed the title or you can't catch, you know, the author's name or whatnot, you can go to my profile and you can see everything I've read ever, but especially like in chronological order. So you could just click on my profile and kind of, you know, look back a few books and you should be able to find it that way. So that is linked down below. I will just say, I don't use it for anything except for tracking my currently reading and finished books. And then I give a star rating. I do not actually write reviews because I'm too lazy to do it, honestly. So anyway, that's down there if you're interested. So let's talk about some books. It has been a month on some of these, so details might be murky and I have a ton to talk about, so I'm going to try to be quick. I actually have so many to talk about that I decided I will just talk about books that I have as a physical copy so that I don't have to edit in a bunch of covers. So I do have some books that I read as audio or ebooks that I am not going to talk about this time. I'm sorry. I'm kind of looking to see. I mean, really, it's not, don't worry, you're not missing much, I promise. And some of them were just series that I'm going to continue, so I can talk about them as I read more books in the series. Okay, so anyway, this is a new release. It's called Immortal Dark by, I don't know how to say this name, Tigest Girma. That's just a guess. I really don't know. This is actually a young adult, like paranormal. And I have really moved away from reading young adult, but I was hearing about this book from people who don't even write or read young adult who were like, this book was really good. So I decided to check it out specifically because Katie Robert, an author who I absolutely love, read this book and then did like a little reel on Instagram and was like, this book was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved it. And I was like, all right, Katie, if you say so. So I went and got it. It is a beautiful book. It has these beautiful sprayed edges and this gorgeous cover. And this book was phenomenal. I loved this book. It was just so unique. So it is young adult, but it's like it's aged up. The character's in college. So I don't know even why it is young adult because she's like 18 or 19, but regardless, this is such a cool idea. So the center of the story is that there are vampires, but they are bloodbound to families. And so they can only drink blood from certain families and like bloodlines, due to a curse that was placed on them like centuries ago. So these, the cool thing and the different thing about this book is that these are Black vampires with like roots in Africa. And so it's really just interesting and different than like anything I've ever read before pertaining to vampires specifically. So very, very cool. Excuse me. I've been talking for a little too long and my allergies are kicking in. So anyway, just a totally different setting, a totally different lore. The rules around like how to be a vampire in this world are way different than anything I've ever read. So I think it's just, the world building is incredible. The author just really built this like lore behind the vampires and the families and how they all interact, and it's just fabulous. So it primarily takes place in a college, university setting, so it's got that dark academia feel, but the university is like a private hidden enclave of families who are tied to these vampires, and they all like live on the premises, and they're bound by these laws and these rules, and so there's like intrigue and mystery and murder, and just it's very dark and grim, but very entertaining. I loved this book. I ate it up, and it ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so yeah, very, very excited to see what else this author does. I believe this is her debut novel, and it was just chef's kiss. Excellent. If you've heard about that book, if you've been thinking about that book, get it. It's wonderful. It's so good. Okay, so I read Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. So this book came across my timeline or what have you, for people who are fans of Butcher and Blackbird, which I loved. This book was kind of like recommended for like that kind of dark, gory murder, like creepy romance that's also like really like slapstick kind of funny, I guess is how I might describe it. Anyway, this is like the TikTok sensation. So this is a dark romance, and instead of serial killers like Butcher and Blackbird, this is a woman who has a kink for watching TikToks of masked men. So I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently this is a thing. Men wear these masks, like the mask from Scream or whatever, any mask, but that's kind of the vibe. And then they're like, they post these like thirst trap videos. I don't know. It's weird. Okay. It's weird. Anyway, this woman is like super into them, and I'm not going to go into like the nitty gritty, but anyway, she ends up with one of the guys who does these videos, like they connect, they find each other, and he is like, oh, you like this, huh? So he starts like kind of soft stalking her, but like she's into it. It's very weird. It's that dubious consent for sure. Like the trigger warning is, you know, a long page. Anyway, I didn't like this book. It's really dumb. Okay, I'm going to be honest, because it started out really fun. I didn't expect it to be good. Like I was just here for a ride, right? And it started out like a wild ride. I was having a lot of fun with how like unhinged and unserious and ridiculous it was. But then it like took a shift about halfway and just became like a really boring, stupid book. And I thought, I was like, am I going crazy? But I went and read the reviews, and a bunch of people said the same thing. They're like, it turned into a totally different book halfway through. And it was just weird and not good. So I would say the first half was really fun. I was having a good time. It wasn't like the best thing ever, but I probably would have given it like 3 or 4 stars. Like it was fun. And then that last half, I was bored. I wanted it to be over. It was absolutely corny, cringy, and silly, and not in a fun way. So I don't get the hype on this one. It's weird. I don't like it. I just was like, please let it be over. Like I was just trying, like the last couple hours, I was like, just get me out of here, please. So I will say the first half, like you had me in the first half, not gonna lie, because I was buddy reading this with my friend Sarah, and we were both like, oh my God, like that's unhinged. I can't believe that just happened. And then we both were like, God, is this book over? Like by the end, it was just awful. So you can't trust those book talk recommendations. You really can't. All right, so I read The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. This is the second book in like an interconnected standalone series. So the way Tessa Bailey does this, and the way a lot of romance writers do this is they will write these books that you can read without having read the others, but characters from like previous books will make cameo appearances. So the first book in this is Fangirl Down. And so you meet these two characters in Fangirl Down, like briefly. So it's the main female protagonist in Fangirl Down. This is her best friend, Tallulah. And then the male love interest in the first book, like this is his best friend. So you really don't have to read, all the books like to follow. You could just pick this up and you'll be fine. But there are like, you know, some little tie-ins to that first book. So anyway, this is a nanny hockey romance, a single dad hockey romance. He hires a nanny to help with his daughter, and then they fall in love, right? So it's not breaking the mold. It's not anything you haven't read before. I love Tessa Bailey. Her books get like some flack sometimes. She gets some mixed reviews. Some people really do not like her writing style, but I really enjoy it. I think I've loved like everything I've read by her, honestly. I don't think there have been any that I'm like, nah. I can't think of any. I've only got like 1 or 2 more to read to be like caught up. She's an auto-buy author. Every time she has a new book, I buy it. It doesn't matter what it is. And I love it. I love it. So this was fun. Fun, smutty, classic Tessa Bailey. I had a good time with that one. Okay, so then I read another like viral book talk sensation, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. And then the second book, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So these are contemporary romance novels that are for like fans of Gilmore Girls, small town cozy romance, and that's exactly what they are. But they get a little spicy. So they're not like a Hallmark movie where it's very chaste, maybe a kiss. Like these are, you know, you get some sex scenes in here, but they're not like the smuttiest, spiciest thing I've ever read by any means, but like you get some details. So basically these are all, there's going to be a third one, The Christmas Tree Farm. Can't wait. These are set in this small town, this small coastal town on the East Coast. It's like, you know, like it's supposed to be like a Gilmore Girls vibe, like a Stars Hollow kind of feel, like these, you know, it's a walkable town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's in everybody's business, and it's just cute and charming. Really, really have enjoyed these. This first one, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I liked a whole lot, but I wasn't like blown away, but it was like a really good time. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, I loved. I love this one. So the first one, absolutely worth reading, but the second one, I enjoyed even more. So these were like a really good time. If you've been curious about them, pick them up for sure. They're not going to be like your all-time favorites, but like they are a good time. They're good. They're not going to like break the mold on anything, but they're worthy. They're worthwhile. I cannot wait to get The Christmas Tree Farm. I'm assuming that's coming out for Christmas this year. I hope it's out soon. I haven't looked up like when it's coming out, but I will definitely get it. Okay, so I read then Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. This is just a fantasy novel. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble like 2 years ago probably, because it was one of their like featured books, the buy one, get one half off, like book of the month kind of thing. And I read the back and was like, well, that sounds good. And it had like decent reviews. So this is, I don't even know how to describe this. It's set in London. It's set in current day, but there are witches who have magic. And the main character that we're following does not, she knows about magic, but she doesn't have magic of her own, or her magic won't work the way it's supposed to. So she's kind of like this like powerless witch, and she's been raised by her aunt to believe that magic is awful. Magic needs to be bound. You shouldn't use your magic. She attends university or a school, and meets some other witches and they form like a coven, and she starts to learn that maybe like she has been misled, that magic isn't bad, that there are people who use magic without like any issues, and that maybe her aunt has not been honest with her. There's a lot of mystery, there's a lot of intrigue in this book. So I really, really enjoyed this. It is very long. I think it's longer than it needed to be. I did listen to it on audio. I think I would have struggled to get through it otherwise. It's good. It's very good. There is a lot of, it's a young adult, like, I mean, I don't think it's technically like a young adult book, but it reads a lot like a young adult book. It is set in high school. You get like the Mean Girls kind of stuff. It's good. It was good, but I did get like a little bit tired of that at some point, and the book did drag on a little bit longer probably than it needed to. But it was an interesting concept. It was an interesting premise. I was mostly like intrigued and enjoying this book. It does end on a cliffhanger. There's another book out. I don't know if I care enough to like go find the second book. If I stumble across it, like I would probably read it. And this wasn't bad. I mean, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. So like it was a good book. I don't know if I care enough to like keep going. I would have rather it be a standalone, and then I could have just been done and been like, that was a great book, and now I'm done. All right, so for the Halloween season, I read Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan. This is a contemporary romance. This is really fun. It's an American who travels to Scotland to try to break a curse on a castle. She is a curse breaker. So this has some magical realism, and mostly is just reads like a contemporary romance, except for that there are curses. There's a little bit of like unexplained mysticism, and she has like it has been taught by her grandma like how to find and break curses. So there is that element of magic to it. But mostly it reads and feels like just a contemporary, like normal world. The love interest is an Englishman who is an archaeologist, and he's at the castle like looking for artifacts, and she's there to break this curse, and he's like, this is ridiculous, like you're just a con artist. And so they get off on this like they get off on the wrong foot, because she's there, he thinks she's scamming like the owners of the castle basically. And she's like, no, there's a real curse. Like, I'm here to help. And he's like, okay, sure. So they have this like contentious relationship, but they're really attracted to each other. So it's kind of like it's not quite an enemies to lovers, but it's like a rivals to lovers. So, it was really entertaining. I had a good time. I wasn't like blown out of the water by it, but it's short and sweet and quite sexy. So I really enjoyed it. It's one of those that's a little bit forgettable. Like by the time you're done, you're like, okay. In a very, very similar vein, I read Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. So this was a new release, I think, for October. And this is a different setting, but the same kind of premise. Like it's a contemporary romance, but in this one small Florida town, there are ghosts. Ghosts are real, ghosts exist, and they are, for whatever, rip in the veil or whatever, they kind of like are congregating around this town. And so this woman moves to the town, and the town folk are like, yeah, this is normal, this is how it is here. And she's like, what? And then quickly realizes like, oh, they're not making this up, like my house is haunted. So she it's her romance story with the local coffee shop owner. And this was fine. Like it was missing something for me. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's been a while since I read it, and it's like it's just flown right out of my head. Like it was quite forgettable. I'm not saying it's bad. I just felt very meh about it. Like it's not bad. I think I'd give it like 3.5 stars. Like it was fine. It was readable. I had an okay time, but like I will never read this again. It's not going to stay on my shelf. Like it was just missing a little something for me. So unfortunately that one was a bit of a miss, not bad, just a bit of a miss. Okay. So I read One for My Enemy by Olive E. Blake. Olive E. Blake is a really interesting author because I have absolutely loved some books from her, and I have been like, about some, and I don't know, she's a little bit hit or miss. And even the books I've loved, like the Atlas 6, I loved. Some people just hate that book. So she is a controversial author. But this is I guess I would call this a fantasy book. One for My Enemy. So this features a witch family living in New York City, and there is a rival witch family. And it's a Romeo and Juliet, and it's not quite a retelling, but it is like an ode to Romeo and Juliet. So there's tragedy, there's loss, there are rivals, it's messy. There's a lot of Russian folklore in here for some reason. So the two families like originate from Russia. They're now in New York City, but they have Russian heritage. So one family is like the Baba Yaga, all female family, and then the other family is the Koshi, all male family. And of course, like various members fall in love and have like tragic doomed relationships. So yeah, I actually loved this. But I can see that it's probably not going to be for everyone. But if you like Russian folklore, if you like witches and magic, but in a like contemporary setting, if you like doomed love, angsty tragedy, like you might love this like I did. I really enjoyed it. I do like her writing. But there are a few books that even with the good writing, like they don't quite work for me. Like she definitely gets very purple prosy, and she like overwrites sometimes. So, but overall, I really love this book. I did enjoy that. I was hoping I would, but I was nervous. And so it was a great time. All right. So I've got two more and then I'm done. All right. So, T. Kingfisher, What Moves the Dead. Now this book, I didn't like this book, but hear me out. This is not a book for me. It's a horror book, and I didn't realize that. So I have read from this author before, but what I read from her before was like cozy fantasy, and I loved it. And so I just like picked this up, like, let's go. And I did not realize that this is not a cozy fantasy. This is like a grim, dark horror book with a ton of mushrooms and body horror, and I do not like that. So this book is not for me. So I did not like this book, while simultaneously recognizing that it is very well written. It is very well done, and somebody out there will love this book. It's just not, it's not for me, but it's not a bad book. It's very short, as you can see. So it was like, I was like, you know, I'm just going to push through and finish, but, it was gross. It was really gross, and I don't like horror. So it was just not for me. It's a retelling or inspired by The House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. But yeah, it is grotesque and gothic. The setting is really, really cool. It's like a moldy, rundown old mansion. But there are like zombie rabbits and things growing where they shouldn't be, and things molding and festering, and it was just not for me. But if that's for you, read this book, because the author is very talented. It just, I didn't like it. Okay, the last book I read. So this is That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf by Kimberly Lemming. This is the second book in this series. There are 3. I read the first one, and I still need to read the third one. These are contemporary like fantasy romance novels. They are very unserious and they are very fun. but they are not for everyone. So I know like the reviews can be really mixed on these because you're in this like medieval Renaissance fair kind of setting, but the language is very modern. So these characters talk to each other like with very modern language, but like they don't have like indoor plumbing. So it's a little bit like of a mind, you know, like it's just a little weird, but if you can roll with that, they are so fun. They're unserious, they're lighthearted, and they're like wild little romps, and they're very, very smutty. And I loved both of them that I have read, and I cannot wait to read the third. I had a really good time. They read so quick, like they're super fast to read, and they have the most beautiful artwork on the covers. So I recommend. I love these. Like I said, just don't take them seriously. They're just, it's like a Renaissance, like it's kind of a Ren Fair feel. But they're actually set in the bayou, basically, but like a fantasy version of the Southern Bayou. And I don't know. I just read them if you like something like that. I think this author started as like a fan fiction author. I don't know. But I've really enjoyed them. So, okay, that's it. I need to go have some water. My throat's getting froggy. All right, that's all I've got this time. Thank you for watching. Bye.